The 2025 Clash of Clans World Championship took place last weekend, with Tribe Gaming taking home the trophy. I gathered a ton of bases from the World Championship from our RH Basebuilder, so in this video I'm going to share bases with you from NAVI, DIZI, Millesime MG, as well as the winner Tribe Gaming. With that, hello and welcome to yet another video. My name is Gumgum and all of the base links as well as the recommended clan castles can be found in the description. But let's dive right into the first base, which is from Gaku, where we have this base, this diamond base with the clan castle as well as the monolith in the core that defended against Meow. So in the lower bracket match of the World Championship, this was actually an elimination match on day 1, but Meow just tried doing a Grand Warden walk together with a fireball and sent in all of the troops from the left hand side. And as you can see, the first coconut loons already find some seeking air mines, so this entry has been predicted, of course, also with the Giga Bomb being there. And out of the clan castle come 2 ice golems as well as 3 of those rocket loons. However, Gaku actually recommends 1 ice golem in combination with 4 rocket loons, so that's something you can use as well. Now 2 more seeking air mines have been found. Queen is splitting off, so that's really unfortunate for the attacker right here. That of course means that the queen is going to go down on her own and doesn't really have too much support. Of course, he gets a few more defenses, like for example the giant gets the ricochet cannon perhaps. To be honest, probably doesn't even do so. Yeah, the queen just went down. The queen just did absolutely nothing. Ricochet cannon in the core is also doing a great amount of work together with like the multi-inferno tower, because of course the archer queen is not in the core anymore. So there is not really any troop that's able to take out these 2 core defenses. So every single one of the Super Yetis goes down, and after that there's basically just not enough power anymore to get through the base. That's exactly how this base can defend for you as well. Really nice looking diamond base, really like it, really good base, and you can try it out yourself. Base link is of course in the description. Next up is yet another base from NAVI. We're of course first going to check off all of the NAVI bases, and then we're going to DIZI, then we're going to Millesime, and then of course we'll finish off with Tribe Gaming. So we're just going from the placements they get at the World Championship. But this base from Vibes managed to defend a 93% against Fluxy, and in this clan castle you're going to use the 2 ice golems as well as 1 furnace. I'm not going to go too deep into each base like I would normally do in these types of videos, but it's mainly just because, well, after this one we have 15 more bases to go, so 17 bases in total which you can choose from in this video. So if I'm going to talk about every single base for 3 minutes, this video is going to be rather long, but you can already see what this base is mainly capable of doing. So actually this plan from Fluxy was insanely good. Pathing looked very good, but in the end it just came a little short. Of course, this is the hard mode, so most likely if you're going to replicate this attack in the, I would say, normal clan wars and so forth, it is of course a 93%, so most likely it's going to work. However, that doesn't mean Legends League. If you're going to run this base in Legends League, which actually has quite the same modifications to hard mode, or well, esports mode, with of course the 20% extra defense buff, the 10% hero nerf whatsoever, defending heroes also doing 20% more damage. That's of course going to mean that in Legends League this is also going to work out relatively well, so that's just a good thing. Normally, before the latest update, before the ranked rework, all of these esports bases were mostly just viable for esports, or well, they of course can't defend to the same extent in a normal clan war, because like the game mode is so much easier, I would say, because you don't have the modifications. But with this new ranked mode, with the new Legends mode, with the modifications, with the modifiers, you can actually run these esports bases in Legends League and have a lot of success, because the Legends League meta is quite similar to the esports meta, with of course a lot of root fighters, a lot of Grand Warden charges, and of course also a few dragon attacks. So that of course makes that you can run these bases very well in Legends League as well, and hopefully get the same defense as NAVI here against DIZI. Let's continue with the next base, and this time from Smith, also one of our RH base builders who was building for NAVI together with of course Vibes as well as Gaku, and this actually managed to defend a 92% against Synthi with this dragon attack. Of course, at first glance looks like very solid. Our Seawalk value takes out the Town Hall, takes out the Poison Tower, takes out the Multi-Inferno Tower as well, and afterwards he also probably wanted to get some more defense in front of the Town Hall, like for example the Archer Tower as well as the air defense, but you can already see there are quite a few of spring traps there, so that just delays the World Champion charge for like a little bit. And after he like takes out the Expo as well, which he of course wants to take out but is not going to take out, of course he got some value. He got the Town Hall, he got the Multi-Inferno Tower, he got the Multi-Archer Tower, but just take a look at how much base is still left. And to be quite honest, if you're not an experienced attacker, this value is also not going to be sufficient in a normal clan war setting, so without any modifications, without any modifiers, as well as of course in the clan war league, because the value he got from this RC chart, mainly just due to all of the spring traps appearing there and just delaying that Royal Champion charge for a little bit, it just makes that he basically got no value at all with his Royal Champion charge. Of course, he still has the Overgrowth spell he can now use in the backend, and that just mainly comes from experience, so that helps him out a little bit to get some more percentages. But most people, if you're going to get attacked, they are not going to bring that Overgrowth spell. And in that Overgrowth spell, you have a Monolith, you have a Poison Tower, you have a Multi-Inferno Tower, Air Sweeper, and just so much air damage. Of course, now the Minion Principality carries him out so much, but that's just also, we have to take into consideration, Synthi is attacking this base. It's not your average Clash of Clans player, it's Synthi, who is playing the Clash of Clans World Championship for a reason, and has been for the last few years. So he is of course an incredibly good attacker, and yet still isn't able to triple this base. So of course, if you're struggling against defending against dragons, this is of course a base you can use. And the recommended clan castle on this base would be 1 furnace as well as 4 rocket loons. And let's continue with the next diamond base we have here from Will Smith again, and of course on the account from Kazuma. And this base is going to be attacked by Subban from Xibai, and is actually going to defend for 87%. Which is of course a very solid defense. Of course, still wasn't enough for NAVI to actually make it to the next round. But that's of course also mainly due to like the offensive factor from NAVI that just wasn't on point throughout the World Championship, unfortunately. But of course, we do have to say that the World Championship this year was incredibly stacked, as always, of course. So there is always, well, 2 teams that are going out at day 1, and I think not many people would have expected that to be both NAVI as well as Carry Esports. Most people would of course rather have thought it to be Millesime as well as Xibai, but both of those teams actually eliminated NAVI as well as Carry Esports. Just huge congratulations from them. Those were just incredibly solid performances against them. But you can now see all of the troops are not really going into the core of the base. Of course, he overgrowth the core of the base, but afterwards he just really does not have any way of getting rid of the Monolith. Like, the Monolith is going to stand as well as the Multi-Inferno Tower, and he has no chance of getting both that Monolith as well as the Multi-Inferno Tower, and the Monolith is just shredding Root Rider after Root Rider, troop after troop. So just really nasty pathing. Doesn't look like it at first glance, but if you're actually attacking this base, you will get to know that the pathing on this base is just really not too nice for Root Riders. So therefore, of course, also a very solid defense here against that Root Rider attack from Subban. And here we just have the standard clan castle with 2 ice golems, 1 furnace that got recommended by Smith. So if you want to run this base as well, that's the clan castle you're looking for. And here we have another base from the NAVI versus DIZI match that managed to defend against Mask on a 85%. Together with a defending clan castle of 1 furnace as well as 4 rocket loons. And we're once again, or well, Mask once again is going in with the rocket loons. Or well, not with the rocket loons, well, a few rocket loons of course, but mainly just with the dragons. And is trying to make his RC go into the core of the base. Of course, we have the Tesla right here. That is just really nasty at first glance, and of course that makes that he is misdropping his invisibility spell for a little, just a tiny sliver, because he has to also drop the invisibility spell on top of that Tesla and then instantly catches the spring trap, doesn't react quick enough, and with that the world champion is gone as well as the attack is over. And after that, well, it's basically just saving the 2-star as well as many percentages as possible. So he has to go into the town hall. With that, instantly, of course, catches the poison tower. Instantly gets so much damage from that defending town hall. So all of the troops go down relatively early. RC basically got nothing. He still has a lot of invisibility spells he can use to gather percentages, but still, it is never ever going to be a triple. And you just saw this exact entry from the world champion was perfectly baited with the spring traps as well as this annoying hidden Tesla. So if you want to prank your enemies, if you want to bait your opponents, this is for sure a base you can use, especially if you know how they like to attack. And now we're hopping over to the other side, where we now have Kazuma going off against Cynthia, or well, a base from DIZI, from our DIZI builder Daniel. And in this clan castle, or well, in every single clan castle from these 3 DIZI bases I'm now going to give you, we have 2 ice golems, 1 furnace and 1 headhunter. And also, to be honest, we have to say that Kazuma just really didn't have a good day. So you're going to see this opener from him is incredibly strong, also with the overgrowth spell and then sniping out that expo. But Kazuma, in both the first match as well, so like this is the first match and also in the second match, he missed both of his fireballs. So that's of course also not really the best setup for getting the 3 stars. Now of course also the furnace is going on to his flame flinger, so the flame flinger is just being taken out by the furnace, also really unlucky for him. But of course having that furnace in the defense, really just a lot of work. But his Grand Warden now is just struggling so much against the right hand side. It's really hard to predict how this attack would have went if he actually landed the fireball where it was planned. Now it's of course an 82% 2-star, but just also in general, this is a really just an obscure base, not something you see very often, especially with this type of core. It's just a very large core compartment with 2 of these ricochet cannons as well as the monolith as well as the multi-inferno tower. So that's just really something where you'll maybe force the attacker out of their comfort zone. Well, just in general, you see currently in Clash of Clans, especially in Legends League, you see a lot of ring bases, also ring bases with invisibility towers. You see a lot of diamond bases, or of course box bases, always with the same setup. And this diamond base is just very out of the ordinary. So therefore, if you just want a base that's going to well, force the attacker or force your opponent out of the comfort zone, this is surely a base you can try out yourself. And here we have the next base from our DIZI base builder Daniel, this time defending 85% against Mr. C. Even though of course this defense once again didn't really matter for the outcome of the war, still of course DIZI got eliminated by Millesime MG, but still their defense really was on point, but their offense just really wasn't there. Of course you can also say that Millesime just also had an incredibly good defense, and of course from Millesime we were also going to get a few bases afterwards. We have 4 bases from Eddie which are coming after these DIZI bases, but of course Seawalk's going into the core relatively well, but still doesn't take out a single of those core defenses. Now still both of those multi-inferno tower as well as its disgusting ricochet cannon are left standing in the core of the base. And he just has to find a way into getting into those defenses, which is just really easier said than done because the pathing once again isn't too good. Still, of course, has 2 overgrowth spells he's going to use, but those overgrowth spells are basically doing nothing but delaying that damage, because still, after those overgrowth spells, he still has to get rid of that core. And that is really easier said than done. Of course, now overgrowths both of those multi-inferno towers as well as the ricochet cannon. So the root biters just stay a little bit more clumped up. But you can see all of these root biters are gone in a no time. Before he even deploys, well, shortly after he deploys the second overgrowth spell, all of his root biters are basically already gone. Well, one is left that just came out of the troop launcher, I believe. But it's just absolutely not what he wants. Now the Archer Queen splits up. Archer Queen gets so much damage from the ricochet cannon in the core. Also, those 2 long-range X-bows are just raining down fire onto those troops in the middle of the base. And that makes for an incredibly good defense against this very strong root biter attack. And here we have another base from the same clan war, this time going to defend against Anet for an 88%. And of course, for the last base, I didn't tell you the clan castle, but for any of these DIZI bases, so the base that defended against Kazuma, the base that defended against Mr. C, and now the base defending against Anet, you are going to use 2 ice golems, 1 furnace, 1 headhunter. So just basically that very standardized CC. And just take a look. Once again, we are running into a bait, or well, Anet is running into a bait. The Fox is down. So many giant bombs has got triggered, 4 in total. With that, he is also not going to get the Inferno Tower. Now, of course, gets the Inferno Tower with the Earthquake spell actually. But still, just take a look at how much damage, or well, how many buildings are in front of this entry. He wants to just get a little bit of value from his lock launcher, which was seen very well, but all of those Tesla are just annoying for like a little bit. Therefore, all of the root fighters are just not going where he wants them to go. Now the NATO is also going to appear, and he wanted the root fighters to go to the left-hand side, and then just the queen to take care of the town hall. It is not going to work out at all. Now the RC is just running in front and also being taken out. So this entry was predicted so incredibly well, and this is just the main attack, well, root fighter entry you're going to see on this base. People are just always going to go in from the right hand side, especially right hand players, or well, people will have a dominant right hand. They're going to go in from the right hand side rather than the left hand side, and then you're going to catch all of this giant bomb. The Fox is going to go down, and then afterwards, of course, you're going to run into every single one of those Tesla, as well as the tornado trap at the 6 o'clock corner, making for a very nice defense. And that's of course exactly how you're going to stop Root Biter, which is hopefully also going to work out in Clan Wars as well as Legends League for you. And that's DIZI done, and now we're hopping to Millesime MG, who were performing incredibly well in the World Championship and actually had the best defense. I believe they had like an 11-star average on defense, which is like the best out of every single team. And of course, this is now going to be a defense against Max, who is for most people considered the best player in the world. So that's just an incredible performance to defend him. Of course, it's going to be a relatively high percentage, so it's going to be a 97%, but still, defending Max is something not many people can do, and yet Eddie was able to do so. And also, for all of these bases from Eddie, on Millesime MG, you're going to use the same clan cost on every single one of them, and that would be 1 furnace, 2 rocket loons, as well as 1 ice golem. That's the clan castle you're now going to use for this base, as well as the next 3 bases you're going to get from Millesime MG. And of course, the plan from Max was really good. Took out quite a good chunk of the base out with his Grand Warden Walk, and now of course those skeleton spells on the left hand side were able to tank relatively well. Now as well, in combination with the World Champion is just able to take out so much, and now he's running into a World Champion charge bait with his World Champion, catches the Tornado Trap, catches so many Spring Traps, so that World Champion is really having a hard time. Of course, still has the ability he can use and is going to use in a little bit, but all of these troops are thinning out really fast. So at this point, he basically has no more of his Super Yetis, and still quite a few defenses, quite a few chunky defenses in the back end, of course, with that multi-gear tower, with the multi-inferno tower, and also in the back end you still have the minion prince, you still have the scatter shot. Of course, they're going to stop the attack. It is going to be relatively close because he still gets quite a few percentages with those super miners that come out of the clan castle, out of that siege barracks, but still, it's a defense against Max, and really not many people in the world can actually do that because Max is an absolutely cracked attacker. Next attack and next war, this time between Millesime MG and RH Esports. This was of course the elimination match for the lower bracket after, well, Millesime lost the first war against Elevate. But take a look at the score on the right hand side. RH Esports basically needs a 2-star and a few good percentages, and yet still this base was securing them the win. And let's take a look at how exactly it's going to happen, because this is going to be a 69% and not with 2 stars, because to be honest, I have no idea what Shien's plan was and why exactly he chose to go in from the far side after having like such an insanely bad entry. Like, just take a look. Everything went down so quickly on the right hand side. Of course, it's most likely going to be a World Champion charge bait with all of those giant bombs, but still, that bait for a World Champion worked out perfectly against this Queen Warden charge. The Queen as well as the Warden were just taking out so incredibly quickly. Now he has to use the Grand Warden Eternal Tome relatively early on, because as well, at the 6 o'clock corner, there are a lot of traps, a lot of damage. Now those rocket loons come out of the clan castle, and there is just such a long way towards the town hall. Grand Warden has been taken out, and with that, he still has one overgrowth spell he can use for the Ricochet cannons in the middle of the base. But still, that town hall, he has nothing to take it out. The Queen is walking away. The Queen is now going down on her own. And with that, we actually have a 1-star defense on this base. Absolutely insane performance, and actually securing them the win and securing them the lower bracket run they had. And of course, afterwards they played against DIZI, which would have never been possible if this base actually managed to not defend this well on a 1-star, as well as of course these low percentages. So really well done here by Eddie. And of course, if you want to copy this base, the link is in the description. But that's of course not the last MMG base we're going to take a look at. We have a few more to share. Next base from Eddie, once again a box base, but this time just a little bit asymmetrical. So we have the multi-gear tower on the one side and the multi-inferno tower on the other side. And also just take a look at how many invisibility spells he needs to actually get his World Champion exactly where he wants them to go, where he wants her to go. And this is going to be a relatively high percent. Once again, it's going to be a 91%, which is still, I would say, the bare minimum for all of these players. So probably a 91% for these attackers is still considered a bad attack. It's most likely just an okay attack. It's not the end of the world. Of course, every single one of them, they want to get the triple, but hey, if you're against some good bases, which you are in this case, especially if you're facing a base from Adi, you're just going to have a lot of trouble. And that's exactly what happened here. He really didn't get too much value with his World Champion charge. He wanted to do a long World Champion charge and take out a good chunk of the base. Only managed to take out the town hall as well as one of the key defenses with the multi-gear tower. And then it's just basically too much base still left standing for his root fighters to go through. And the root fighter part just thinned out relatively quickly. with still a few of those backhand defenses left standing. Of course, in the backhand you can see there is a scatter shot, a fire spitter facing the exact way where he's going to enter with the root biters, giga bomb, multi-archer tower, multi-inferno tower, ricochet cannon, so much damage. Also, still the core is left standing with that monolith as well as the cube launcher, and the cube launcher, once the overgrowth wears out, is just going to do so much damage. So with that, you can easily stop these World Champion charges if he does, or well, these World Champion Root Rider attacks, if you just don't give enough value with the World Champion charge. And if the World Champion charges doesn't get enough value, the Root Rider part will easily thin out. And that's exactly how you're going to defend in this case as well. Next base from Millesime, or well, next base from Eddie, and we're going to go in with a new attack strategy. Of course, on the first base that max attacks, Super Yetis didn't work out. Then afterwards 2 attacks with Root Riders didn't work out, and now let's take a look if actually dragons can do the job. And I can already tell you, I can already spoiler, it's not going to. RC is going to go in for the Town Hall. RC therefore is going to get quite a good amount of value, but just behind the Town Hall are just a few of those ricochet cannons, and ricochet cannons, they're not going to do too much damage towards your dragons. So to be honest, you rather just don't want to take them out if they're in the core, because well, they are just basically a huge time waste. Like, it takes so long for the World Champion to take them out, and now the World Champion also hops out of the core and doesn't take out the monolith. He really wanted to get out the monolith, but the World Champion does his other plans. He of course now takes out the fire spitter, which is still a good amount of value. Never mind, doesn't take out the fire spitter because he doesn't want to spend, doesn't want to use his last invisibility spell. With that, the fire spitter is also left standing, and the flame flinger on the bottom side instantly gets taken out by the defending clan castle. He didn't pay attention to the defending clan castle that got lured by his World Champion. With that, also flame flinger gets close to no value. Also, the super minions that came out of the flame flinger got no value, and now it's once again so much base still left standing for his dragons to go through, and they're not going to make it. So that actually means that in this case, Eddie is going to defend for 87% against Reported Gaming. And you have of course watched the World Championship, and you know how strong Reported Gaming as well as Philip are. So defending him on 87% is for sure something, especially if you take a look at the right hand side and see how well Reported Gaming was performing in this clan war. They got 11 stars out of 4 attacks. They wanted to go for the 14 stars, and Eddie said, nope, I'm not going to let that happen. So Philip actually defended at 87% for a very, very strong defense. Of course, it still wasn't enough to get for Millesime to actually win this war, but still, you'd rather take those defenses than get tripled. And now let's go to the bases you have probably all been waiting for, and those are the tribe bases from our tribe base builder Stefan. Of course, we have quite a few bases for base builders that actually are from RH Basebuilding that managed to win the World Championship together with Tribe Gaming. So of course we have Stefan, we have Sir Iron, as well as Kronos, those 3 German builders. But in this video I'm going to share 5 bases from Stefan with you guys. And also once again, on these bases we're going to run the same clan castle through and through, which in this case is going to be the standard clan castle with 2 ice golems as well as 1 furnace. So on any of those bases you're going to get from Tribe Gaming, where the links are of course in the description, you can just run the same clan castle with 2 ice golems as well as 1 furnace, and you're good to go. You don't need to plan the clan castle too much. And against this, once again, it's a defense against Meow, which is actually a 90% defense, which is very, very strong against those Super Yetis, because Super Yetis, they are such a beefy troop, and basically, no matter how much goes wrong in an attack, Super Yetis are always going to get a decent amount of value, or well, a decent amount of percentages, because it's just such a strong troop combination when it comes to just the power alone. So of course you have these Super Yetis that are incredibly chunky, are so incredibly strong when it comes to just tanking, as well as just tanking for those heroes. And the heroes alone, whenever these Super Yetis go down, you still have all of your 4 heroes on the field, and heroes are also incredibly strong, even though they of course get a severe nerf in this esports mode. But you can see after the Town Hall compartment, after both those fire spitters are raining down fire onto the main push, everything gets taken out so incredibly quickly. And now you have to go through the Crusher Mortar, as well as the Fire Spitter, as well as the Monolith, with just a few amount of your heroes, because you basically have no more troops in the core, and that's just way too much for these troops to go through. And that's exactly how you're able to defend Super Yetis as well. And just have to say, incredibly strong base. Basically, Tribe Gaming did such an amazing job when it comes to base building. So they of course didn't, well, there is a reason why they won the World Championship, right? Because both their offense as well as the defense was just incredibly on point. So if you want some tribe bases, of course, this video is where you want to be, and the description is where you want to be as well. Next base from Stefan is this one base that's going to defend Bernal on an 89% 2-star. And you can see the core is incredibly ugly with these 2 multi-inferno towers, as well as with the Monolith. It's probably a base where Reported Gaming would have done like the Arrow as well as the Zapquake. But hey, they're not going to go against Reported Gaming, they're not going against Bernal. And Bernal is going to do a relatively predictable attack with the Archer Queen as well as the Grand Warden charts. Takes out everything he wants to take out, and you see the exact same clan castle in this base as well. 1 furnace, 2 ice golems, and that's basically it. And now Log Launcher as well as 2 giant, or well, the giant arrow as well as a few earthquake spells come in from the bottom side. And now the Log Launcher is going to take out a few of these defenses in the core of the base, or well, mainly just the Monolith as well as the multi-inferno tower. So really good Log Launcher by Bernal here. And afterwards, all of you troops are going to run to the right hand side, going to clump up, and then going to walk their way around the Town Hall, or well, around the base towards the Town Hall. But after the Town Hall, just take a look at how much damage there is still there. We have the Giga Bomb, we have 2 of those defending heroes, we have 2 of those merged defenses, as well as 2 scatter shots, and also the Town Hall as well as the Crusher Mortar still there. And that's just too much for the Root Biters to go through. Of course, he still has an Overgrowth spell he's going to use and is going to use now. But you will see in the end, it is just not enough for his Root Biters to go through. After the Town Hall, all of his troops are going down, and then there's still the left-hand section of the base, well, the 10 o'clock section, that's going to keep standing, making it for an 89% defense. And just insane defense against Elevate here by Tribe Gaming. They managed to do, I believe it was 10 or 11 stars or so, against like probably the best offensive team, or well, on paper the best offensive team in the World Championship. So absolutely insane performance by them, and these bases are just going to defend the best players in the world. So they are going to defend your opponents in a normal clan war as well as in Legends League as well, for sure. And now let's take a look at probably the best performing base throughout this World Championship. And it's just, this is probably also the most insane defense you're going to see. You know Max is one of the best, if not the best player in the world currently. And he is going to get defended on 73%. And I believe this base also was used against Xibai, and also defended on 71% there. So a 71% as well as a 73% defense on this base. Absolutely incredible. And you can see exactly why. There was a little bait on the right hand side, and just both the Archer Queen is now splitting off, as well as the Grand Warden. Grand Warden is going down on his own. Also, the Archer Queen goes down on his own, and Max is absolutely not happy. So after this entry, it just really didn't work out how he was planning it to. And after that, it's basically just taking a look at how can I save as many percentages as possible. and now he sends in the lock launcher straight into that ground expo, so that ground expo easily takes it out. Of course, the lock launcher was basically just to take out those two defenses, so he has just a small amount of pathing towards the town hall, because of course at this point you really do not want to get a 1-star. So Max is doing exactly that, going for the safe 2-star, but after that his troops just thin out instantly. He has no more spells, just two skeleton spells that are going to do not much against all of the splash damage that are still left standing on the base, making it for a 73% defense. Absolutely incredible. Now let's dive into the grand final, and this is already match 2 of the grand final. Of course, the grand final got a bracket reset. Tribe qualified themselves from the upper brackets, Reported Gaming qualified themselves from the lower bracket, and Reported Gaming managed to win the first war in the grand finals and actually securing the bracket reset. And after the bracket reset, of course, Tribe Gaming managed to win, and this was one of the bases that made them win the war, as well as, of course, managed to defend relatively good against Reported Gaming with a 89% in this case, which is, of course, still relatively high percentages, but hey, a defense is a defense. And just take a look, he takes out basically nothing with his World Champion charge, and there's still so much damage left standing. We have basically a split core with like a damage section behind the town hall with the Rage Tower, as well as 2 of the scatter shots, and then we have a damage compartment with those 2 multi-inferno towers, as well as, I mean, not multi-inferno towers, multi-RC towers, as well as the monolith in the core. So just really not nice for root fighters, because you basically have to go through both the damage compartments separately. So first you have to go through the town hall compartment with the Rage Tower, and then afterwards you have to go through the core with the monolith. And if you're just going for the town hall compartments, in the meantime, that core compartment with those 2 multi-archer towers is going to do so much work against your root biters, which is happening exactly like here. Just a few root biters splitting up and they have no chance taking that out. Multi-archer towers are now also taking care of a few of those healers, and after those healers are gone, you basically have no chance of tripling. And on the other side, you also have 3 of those multi-inferno towers. Just a really nasty base, and I believe also a base that's going to work out very well in Legends League if you were to try that out. Because I think this is just in general a very strong base against very many attack strategies, because the core, how it is built, is just very solid against very many strategies. Of course, probably a Grand Warden charge with Fireball can work on his base if you land your Fireball in a good place, but still, just tripling that base afterwards is not an easy task. There's also a reason why this base probably wasn't being attacked by a Grand Warden charge, because of course the modifiers in Legends League as well as in the esports mode are the exact same. So if it's not going to work out in esports mode, it is also most likely not going to work out in Legends League as well. But now let's take a look at the base that actually made Tribe Gaming win the World Championship. If you take a look on the right hand side, or well, it's probably above me right now. If you take a look at that, you see that Reported Gaming is going to win if they triple in the last attack. It was the last attack of the World Championship, the last attack in the final war. And Reported Gaming had to win had to triple in order to win the World Championship with any defense. Also, if it's just a 99% defense, Tribe Gaming is actually going to be the World Championship. And well, hey, spoiler alert, I already said it so many times in as well as the intro. Tribe Gaming won, so this base is going to defend. And just let's take a look at how exactly it's going to happen. We once again have the Rage Tower behind the Town Hall. Tribe Gaming just bringing out the Rage Towers in the last war of the Grand Finals. Very fun to see. Like basically all of those bases we have seen over the last few months in the esports mode, as well as of course in Legends League. It is mainly just always double poison tower and maybe also a few invisibility towers here and there. This was, as far as I know, there was one invisibility tower we saw in this World Championship. and basically close to no rage towers. And then in the last war of the grand finals, or well, the last war of the world championship, Tribe just brings out the rage tower bases. But hey, it worked out incredibly well, because just take a look. You just have to deal with that rage tower compartment one way or another. So you basically have to use an overgrowth spell for that, because there is so much damage if that rage actually deploys. Because you really, multi-inferno towers on their own, they already do a ton of damage, and you really can't underestimate how much damage they can actually do if you have some raged up multi-inferno towers as well as a raged up ricochet cannon. So that's exactly what's so scary about it. Now Tunnel is also going to take care of the Grand Warden, fire spitters onto his root biters throughout the whole time, and healers go down, everything goes down, and with that, Tribe Gaming is actually winning the World Championship. Absolutely insane performance by them, and deserved winner. Really good finals, really had a blast. I was of course in Atlanta, and there's going to come a vlog from Atlanta as well. Well, also the fact that we had to wait for the last attack before we actually have a winner for the World Championship just made it so incredibly exciting. Everyone was sitting at the front of the chair. I just can't really put into words the experience of actually being in that arena. But hey, I had an absolute blast, and I hope you had too. And I hope these bases are also going to defend very well for you. With that, I would say see you guys soon with the next video. Until then, see ya and bye bye.